Hi, Tim Sells here. In this video, I'm going to be talking about something in business, but I want to start off by just introducing it as something that everybody or most people experience, all right? And so this is a person who, in their current state, has set out a vision, a goal, something that they want, right? So that's the desired state. This is the current state. And then these are the actions that have to occur in order to attain that. But sometimes there's a bit of fumble going on in here, right? And the actions don't get done. And then you have to, wait a year and start that weight loss goal again. So this right here, the example I'm giving is on foods. And if this is what I call a 7-day reveal, I do it in business. And so if I write down every 30 minutes what I do, right, then it's going to be able to reveal to me what foods I'm eating that are not in the desired state, exercising or not, and how long, and those kinds of things, okay? So step one is to become the desired you, remove all enemies of becoming the new you. Enemies? What do you mean enemies, right? Well, if I'm eating bad foods, then that's going to be an enemy to attaining that goal. And then, but the thing I'm going to dial in here is something is telling you to eat bad food and not exercise. And I call that enemies in the head. And that's what I'm going to talk about. All right, so enemies in the head. What in the world does that mean? All right, so by the time you're done with this video, you're going to fully understand it and be able to handle it as well. So just as kind of an announcement on this, for those of you who haven't seen, this right here is the pipeline. This is how all businesses get customers. This is how all businesses acquire employees. This is how politicians get votes. This is everything in terms of acquisition, all right? And some people can do this and some people can't do this at first glance, all right? So when they first try. And so what I'm teaching is a bridge to this pipeline. And where we're at right now is carve out the space in your life to do it. But what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to merge these two together, and I'm going to cycle back and forth between carve out the space, make the time, carve out the space, make the time. All right? Because that's really where the heart of change happens. And so this is the problem and this is the solution. And I don't want to just give you problem. I want to go back and forth to help you resolve this, all right? So, all right, let's jump in here. This is going to be fun. So this right here is just a visual of carved out space, okay? And so this is a tunnel that goes from Tijuana to San Diego, and it just, from a visual standpoint, it'll make sense in just a second. The last time you carved out space, made the time, and formed habits and routines, you built walls. This is the walls I'm talking about. You built walls that keep you in that space, habits, and routines. Okay, that's kind of like, you can look at anything you want from the time that you didn't brush your teeth till the time that you did brush your teeth. You carved out space. You then got in the habit of brushing your teeth, and then it was flossing and whatever it is, okay? So that's kind of just a visual because it'll help us through this process. So senior to it all is you making the decision and having that identity of brushing your teeth, or that identity of eating healthy foods, or that identity of working out, or that identity of doing the pipeline, okay? And then from identities, you get actions. And it's those actions that carve the groove. The identity establishes that we want to do this. That's the desired result. But you have to do the actions in order to carve the groove. All right. In order to have something different, your vision, right, the desired state now, you must carve out a new space and create new habits and routines. And people who say you can't teach an old dog a new trick doesn't understand what I'm about to show. All right? Because if you just think it through of the example that I just gave you, when you get a new vision, right? It's the same as the old one, just the old one is grooved in. However, if it's contradicting something that you've already grooved in, now you're going to have to kind of cut through this thing. And that's where this concept of carve out the space comes from. All right, so let me start at the very senior of all actions, and I just mentioned it, but before every action you take is an identity driving that action. Okay, so let's say that I go to the grocery store. I happen to have my golf clubs in the back, in the trunk, and I go, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to go, hit some golf balls. All right? Well, there was an identity that was taking me to the grocery store, and there was an identity that crossed over the top of that and said, hey, I'm going to the golf course. Okay? And those are two different identities. One wants to play golf. The other he wants to get groceries. You get this idea, okay? So identity always comes before the action. You are being something all the time. That something is either for or against your new vision. And that's really where this explanation begins to take root, and you can start really feeling what this change is about and how there's resistance and so forth. But what I really want to clue you in on is that the senior to all of it is identity. And so even if you change an action or two, you're still going to have to change the identity. Otherwise, that identity is always going to be showing up. If it is against your vision, it is an enemy and must be treated as an enemy. Okay, so this something is either for or against your new vision. And if it's against it, it's an enemy and it needs to be treated as such. All right, so the purpose behind, so I've mentioned carve out the space a whole lot, but I want you to know the purpose behind it now. So you wrote your vision, okay? So if we go all the way back to the beginning of the bridge of the pipeline, then you wrote your new vision and your plan to get that vision. Then you did the 7-day reveal that revealed your true identity and exposed the enemies, identities and actions of your new vision and plans. All right? They're enemies because they are in conflict to who you want to be now. Parts of the old you are now enemies to the desired new you. It feels like a tug of war because it is. Okay, so you can think of this as habits, bad habits. You can think of these as trying to drive in new good habits of something that you're not used to doing. And so that resistance, if you will, that's an enemy to you. If you're trying to drive something in and something's pushing you back, then that's an enemy to you. If you're trying to quit something, but something keeps trying to get you to do it, then that's an enemy to it, right? Now, identify and remove all enemies that are blocking you from executing your vision and plan. And I'm talking right here about executing it, all right? So a lot of times people make the goals, but they never move into that action step to start implementing and executing their plan to get their vision, right? So executing your vision and plan of what you really want the most. Okay, so duh and doe. I don't know if you know doe, but Homer Simpson, that's what he says, and it's annoyed grunt. Okay, so I watched the person who is the voice, and he was talking about how he came up with that as a concept. And so that was to quickly show that he had an annoyed grunt. All right, so the reason I say duh and doe is because your day is already full. How do you make more time? Get rid of, carve out, all enemies of what you really want. Fill that space, which is a void, with only actions aligned with your new vision. Now, the reason I said doe is because of the frustration of comments that people say to me, which is, I don't have time. And I'm like, dope, right? Because you don't have time to make $100,000 or $1 million because you're too busy trying to earn less. All right, like that is the way I hear it, because there was a time that I didn't do network marketing. There was a time that I was struggling, making about maybe $1,300 to $1,400 a month. And I had to go through that transition to understand that all the things that I was doing was blocking me. They were enemies to me making millions. And then once you get fully this idea and this concept, then it literally sets you free, because now you understand the real thing holding you back. Okay, so let's dive into this a little more. So again, identity is senior to actions. If you run down this list of the 7-day reveal, so what I did is that I just kind of mocked one up, and it was, okay, so at 6:30 in the morning, I had tea, I planned my day, I worked out, I showered, and then I cleared email. And in one of those emails, I watched a video, and then I watched a related video to that. And then I started searching for crock pot to buy. And then I read reviews on crock pots. And then I had to solve a problem my wife had. And so I came out and I grabbed a ladder to get up to the rafters to be able to, for the cleaning people to clean the top of the rafters. All right. So, and then, blah, 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 blah. You see, that's what a 7-day reveal is going to reveal. All right. So I then blocked off these things right here, because if I was new and I was trying to get into that action mode, like I did starting way back in 1989, and I was in the military, I was, full-time in the military and so forth. So I did a similar type of a thing, because I had made a comment to the person who brought me into the business that I didn't have time. Okay? All right. So with these little sections right here, if I was brand new right now, I would carve all these out. Right? I carved these items out to make space for actions that do attain my goals. Okay, so you can look at this right here as those channels that I showed you that go from Tijuana to San Diego and back, right? So those are channels. And so people get into routines, and you're going to see similarities across each day if you go about it for a week. All right. Now they're walls, remember? And so when you go and you look at this, you're like, I ain't messing with that. I got to do that. I got to do that. And that is the stuff that is the dough, right? Because it only took me 5 years to get to $150,000 a month in income. And so if you just you go, hey, wait a minute. If I really go after this and it's achievable, and I'm not the only person who's done that, then you would look at this in a different context. All right, so once I carve these out, okay, so am I just going to get rid of them? Right, so where do I put carved out items? Yes, I could delete them. If it meant the kind of money that you want, whatever your vision is, then all right, I'd be willing to delete. I've told the story before, but I went into my garage, I lifted up, looked in there and looked at every single thing in there, and they were several 10-speed bicycles, there were golf clubs, there were weapons that I like to play with, bows, and all kinds of different stuff in there. And I got rid of it all. And I said, I can get better stuff later. And that's just what I did. If it didn't make me $10,000 a month, I didn't do it anymore. That was just my motto at that time. So you could delete it. You could delegate it to somebody else. You could put it into a bucket called Someday Maybe. Right? And so all the subscriptions to magazines that I had coming to me, things like that, I just got them. I just, canceled those things, just deleted them. And I put in a Someday Maybe. I'd like to get Woodworking magazine again, or whatever it was that I had. Okay, so and this is the point. Is really there's just this kind of point that you're going to have to face at some point in time. It is a point, and this is the point. Tough up, man up, woman up, whatever you want to call it, lawyer up, and remove actions that aren't moving you towards your vision, because they are enemies. But what happens? All right, let me go back through this again. This is where I kind of did the intro up there. First step, to become the desired you, remove all enemies of becoming the new you, right? All right, so here he is. And this is now, we're talking business. And this identity is holding you back. The current state person, right? This person doesn't want you to do the 7-day reveal, doesn't want you to change habits and routines. The current you, this person doesn't want you to do the 7-day reveal, doesn't want you to change habits and routines. The current you, this one, spent a long time creating the current habits and routines, and that's that channel. Okay, so there you go. Now you're looking square at the enemy, and it's you. But unfortunately, it's only parts of you. But in reality, what's happening here is that you are trying to prevent it. And so you are the source. It would be great if you could say, oh, it's somebody else, it's this, it's that, and thing. Those are called excuses. And once you start creating those, you turn on that excuse manufacturing machine, and it just runs on autopilot forever. And so, no, you're responsible for every condition and every circumstance that you are in. So this person is trying to hold you back. Now, you got to take a look at this. This is very interesting, because this person is the one who created this as an idea and a goal and it's something that they want. Okay? And so now you've got this person, this identity, and this identity, and they are struggling. All right? That's what's really going on. Now, that funny thing is that, remember, you made both of these. And so I did a video, and I had a big chessboard sitting here, and I was talking about, and please, if you can drop that in and let people watch that video. But what it was is that I used to play chess with myself. If my sister wouldn't play with me or whatever, I would set up the chessboard and I would play, and I would pretend as though that this side over here, let's say, was the dumb side and this side over here was the smart side. And so I would pretend as though I didn't notice that I just opened up a spot for the king to get taken out, right? And this is the game right here. This is the game. You're playing the game because you are able to move identities like this. But you don't feel that, okay? And so there's a struggle coming out of here, and this identity over here is pulling you, and this one has got one around your neck going, no, you don't want to do this, right? So that's the fight. That's the war. That's the tug of war that is going on, right? So it's an interesting thing, and I believe that when you really understand it, like I just explained it, that you're able to just kind of, just ponder a minute and just go, wow, you know what? I see it everywhere now. And just notice how frequently you say this, you want to do this, and then you get caught up, your TV's on, you look over at it, and you're like, you grab the remote and you turn it up. What is that? And then you end up not going and doing the thing you were heading out to go do. That's an enemy to your goals. And if you watch it, you're going to see it all day long. And I'm sorry that if you watched all the way to here, because it's going to be a bit of a pain because you're going to know and spot the smart you and the dumb you. Okay, you'll spot it all the time. All right, so please do me a favor and comment. Have you experienced this tug of war between old you and new you? Number 2, have you experienced it in network marketing? How did you win? And then please like and share and subscribe if you haven't already. And also we have a Telegram channel, Network Marketing Power. So it's just that you can search it on Telegram. And I'm able to answer questions in there a whole lot easier. Because if I go all the way back to all the videos that I've done and try to read those all the time, it's a lot to catch up on. So I prefer for people who want to ask me questions and things that you meet me on the Telegram channel. So thanks so much for watching.